Hey guys, this is Chelsea. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Frankenstein. It is currently out in theaters, but it comes out on Netflix this Friday. It's by Guillermo del Toro, so this is like his rendition, his sort of version of it. And I really love Frankenstein. I, of course, love Mary Shelley. I had to read it in school, but I also did a puzzle of Frankenstein a few months ago, so I'm kind of in deep with the story. And I actually really loved his version of it, and I just want to talk about the characters, the set. I just want to do more of an analysis, more so than a review. So there will be spoilers. Just a heads up, we're all on the same page here. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to talk about Victor. Now, he is the scientist, he is the creator of this monster, right? So Frankenstein, he kind of gets confused between being the scientist and being the actual monster, which is very poignant, especially in this film, because you can see how Victor and his creation are very much inextricably linked. All of Victor's life, he's wanted to make animatronics and he's wanted to bring things to life. And so he made his monster, right? However, he, as a scientist, I feel like really wanted to control all of his experiments. He didn't really create them to sort of learn from them. He did his creations to control them, which we can see with the monster. So when he makes his creation, he's not really well loved in the scientific community. He's seen as this guy who's very ambitious and kind of extravagant, and people don't really take to him very well. So he makes this monster as a sort of like FU to the community, and he really just kind of makes this creation to make it, to kind of control it and see how he can manipulate it. He even said in the film, like, he didn't really think about the monster beyond creation. He didn't think about the soul of the monster. He didn't think about anything beyond really making it exist. And this also happens with when his brother asks him, like, what part of your creation holds the soul? And he, as Victor, didn't have an answer because he really just wanted to make things for his own gain. So this is very different from Elizabeth, which is the love interest in the story for both Frankenstein and his monster, honestly. So Elizabeth is also like Frankenstein. They both admire knowledge and they want to expand their mind, and they are both very curious individuals. However, for Elizabeth, I feel like when she wants to learn more, she is coming at it from a place of curiosity, from a place of understanding, and really knowing more about that thing that she's studying. And you can say that with the monster. Like, she really does, like, it's so interesting because, like, whenever she's on screen with the monster or, you know, Frankenstein's creation, I just feel like she really loves him, which is really like a testament to her acting, because if I felt like she really saw the monster's soul, she wanted to hold him and make sure that he made it through his life in a good way, and she like really cared for him on a soul level. Even though she was like this very like knowledgeable like scientific person, she also led with her heart and like let her intuition and her soul really speak for her as well, which is very opposite of Victor, which I feel like is also why they never got together, because it was like, for Victor, I feel like what he created for his life, he really wanted to have connection and he wanted to feel like a part of humanity. But unfortunately, he didn't really love others the way that he perhaps wanted to be loved. He wanted to love in order to covet. And that just doesn't really last long term, because he also keeps the monster captive. He's like in this underground, like, subway, like tile room basically, which I thought was really beautiful because the tile sort of to me mirrored the monster's skin, and he was very much like Prometheus, kind of like bald, like the pale white translucent skin. Like, he was kind of woven together in a way that reminded me of like a topographical map, not so much like the quintessential Frankenstein quilt patchwork that we might all be familiar with, which I thought was like a really nice change, because when I was first going into this film, I was like, oh, okay, so that I like kind of had my idea of what it was going to be like. But I feel like Guillermo's version is very like poetic, and he really got to the humanity of Frankenstein. He added his artistic flair, like the way that only he really can. Pan's Labyrinth, I forgot the other movie, I think The Lady in the Water or something like that was this other one that I really adored. But he really just enhanced the story. He didn't change it and manipulate it in a way that like was beyond what the story actually was. Like I felt like he was very much like with the essence of the story, but he just made it his own, which I feel like is the point, making your own version of a story, because Frankenstein does not need to be redone. Like it doesn't need to be redone over and over and over again. But I feel like for this film in particular, it felt new, it felt refreshing, and it felt like he really like took his time with it, and he really honored Mary Shelley's story in the beginning. So I feel like it's just like I know, like it's such a good film. Like I was really overwhelmed with it, and I was so moved by mostly the acting, but also the writing and just like the story. And it was like very lyrical, and it was, oh my gosh, like the set was beautiful as well, like the candelabras and Elizabeth's long hair. Like he really leaned into the macabre and it just made the story like so much more enriching for me. And I'm just so happy that's coming out on Netflix so that more people can actually see it, because when it came out, like it was very limited release. So I'm glad that more people can see it. It's a Netflix production, so it'll be seen by more people. I'm just really happy that that's happening. So during this time, women were not necessarily allowed a lot of agency, a lot of movement through like the economy, and like having certain rights and stuff, and like just having like ownership over certain things. So I feel like Elizabeth, she kind of resigned to the idea of being married off, and even like Christoph Waltz's character, the uncle, like he even offered her up to Frankenstein as this like weird bargaining thing. It was strange. But even though like her mind might be beyond what she's able to do at that point in time, I really loved how she found other ways to express herself and other ways to really like spread her wings and take up space, especially when she was conversing with Victor. I feel like her ideas, she wasn't afraid to express herself. She wasn't afraid to like tell him that he wasn't treating the monster right, and she was just like more expressive in that sense. And it was really nice to see her, even though she was like hindered by so much, she really allowed herself to be herself and to take up space in other ways. And I really just loved how hard she loved, especially with the creature. And even though no one understood why she cared for him so much, and they couldn't really see what she saw in him, she was very true to herself in the story, and I really admired that. Victor also, like, he is very like ambitious, but he also unfortunately gets in his own way, especially like when he's telling the story to the people on the boat. He's like saying the monster is this murderer, and he's like crazy and just like kind of goes off, but really I feel like what Victor was trying to get at was that he can never be the monster. He could never have that much humanity, and he could never like he created this amazing thing, right? Like has so much heart and so much love to give, and like he was so interested in the world and so curious, and like those are all things that Victor had himself, but the way that he went about his life and trying to attain these things wasn't conducive to actually having love in your life, like making a long relationship and like having community with people. Like this monster that he created within 5 minutes like has so much understanding of love and humanity, and Victor can't grasp that. Even though he made this thing, it's like outside of himself, and he can't actually connect with what he wants in this life and like the love that he wants to receive. That's why he wanted Elizabeth, because it was like, oh, she'll bring this love and this light back into my life, because he lost his mom. His mom was this light, and his dad was abusive and wasn't caring for him, and then as soon as his mom died, it was like all the light got sucked out of his world. So he's trying to bring that back. He's trying to make that come back into his life again with Elizabeth, with his work, like with whatever he can, but he can't actually hold any of it. He can't actually bring it into his life. And so I feel like that was kind of the underlying thread in the entire story. At least that's what I got from it. Also, his treatment of the creature was more like a child. And they did mention this in one of the interviews, like Guillermo wanted this sort of parent-child relationship with the monster. So like what I got from it was when the monster was created, he was like showing it everything, like, oh, this is the sun, this is life, like these are all things that are so super fascinating, and like he wanted him to understand and come into this world. But then as soon as the monster wasn't going as fast as he wanted, or like wasn't catching on to things very quickly, like he wasn't acting how he wanted him to act, so he just got bored, like, okay, I gotta find something else, I gotta move on to something else, But in the meantime, this thing that he created wants life, like it wants love, it wants so much more, and Frankenstein knows that he can't give it to him. So he just ignores him. He kind of goes off and like tries to distract himself with something else. Whole life, like he was making this thing, he got it, and then okay, it's like time to move on. But I really love in the end when Victor is laying down and he's confronted with, you know, the monster, the creation that he made, and he's confronted with the actual truth of the monster, like from his perspective. You know, I'm sure the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle of the two stories, but it was just really beautiful to see them like holding hands and like interlocking together. Like you could just see how they were so important to one another, even though they caused like so much destruction, like there's so much happened between the two of them. But it was like the monster gave Victor so much, and Victor gave him his life, technically, you know, very much technically, but like that's all Victor's able to give. They got what they could from each other, and they were able to move on and go their separate ways, which is beautiful and poetic. And yeah, I just adored it so much. So anyway, that's my analysis of Frankenstein. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to check it out, I suggest you do, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.